I have a confession to make. I thought I knew Southern California. I've driven the freeways 1,000 times, eaten at some of the diners, walked past the neon signs, cruised through downtown like it's Tuesday. And then I met today's guest. Imagine this: 1992, a thrift store somewhere in Los Angeles. A young man is digging through racks of vintage clothing when he spots it: a dusty shoebox shoved between old bowling shoes and a macrame planter. On the box, someone had scribbled in faded ink, "Trip across the USA, 1957." He opens it. Inside, Kodachrome slides, hundreds of them, a family he'd never met, roadside diners he'd never visited, station wagons gleaming like spaceships, motels shaped like teepees, and colors. Oh my gosh, the colors! So vivid they look like they'd been dipped in liquid sunshine. That box changed his life. Now he owns 200,000 slides, probably more. He's appeared on Conan, Martha Stewart, and Cake Wars. He's hosts tours of downtown LA that prove we're all living in a theme park and we don't know it. He's got a YouTube series where he celebrates cars so beautiful they make you weep. This man grew up on a used car lot in Ontario, California, learning to identify every single make, model, and year of automobile by the time he was 6. Yes, 6 years old, while other kids were playing with Hot Wheels. He was memorizing tail fans and chrome bumpers like they were scripture. He moved to LA to become a fashion designer and got fired from every single job. So he did what any reasonable person would do. He became a vintage car dealer. My guest can look at a 1960 Oldsmobile and tell you its dreams. He lives in an apartment where nothing was made after 1965. And somewhere along the way, he invented a dessert so American, so excessive, and so absolutely insane that the Wall Street Journal called it the turducken of desserts. 3 pies, 3 cakes, one glorious monstrosity. And this man is the prophet of polyester, a wizard of mid-century magic. And today, he's ours. So fasten your seatbelts, adjust your rear view mirror, and hold on to your vintage sunglasses because, ladies and gentlemen, Charles Phoenix, the king of retro, is in the house. And he's ours for the next few minutes on SoCal with Val. Welcome, Charles Phoenix, to our show.
Thank you, Val, for that amazing intro. You covered it all practically.
Well, we are so glad to have you here. We all, I'm sure, can relate and wish we had some of the knowledge and background that you have. So this is going to be a fascinating hour. I'm so excited to have you here. Start at the beginning. Of course, everybody wants to know.
My dad had a used car lot, and just as from as early as I can remember, the sparkling cars just captured my imagination, and I was very young when I started to recognize them as, being individual and different. And I just, it just kind of hardwired me to really appreciate them. And my appreciation for the classic cars then led to my appreciation for that whole arc of that kind of mid-century vintage that, is quite celebrated today. And I'm one of the main celebrators of it, although there are many. But you mentioned also the vintage Kodachrome slides. So yes, that kind of was the turning point when I was, when I was 31, 30, sorry, when I discovered someone else's Kodachrome slides in the thrift stores you mentioned in the intro. And that really, really, really changed my life. And I've been doing retro slide shows since 1998. So that's really my main gig, is sharing these vintage slides and going in search of some of the places that I see in these slides and kind of telling the stories of what happened. And, it's always kind of, something wacky happens or interesting or another discovery. So the shows that I do are really about storytelling and just sharing the glories and stories of mid-century Americana. So it's so colorful. I just, it's such a time rich with style and design and everything was like hyper colorized, like candy coated colors, the cars and just the furniture, the whole world, fast food restaurants, diners, roadside attractions, theme parks. Everything was so colorful. We loved color. I love color now, and they loved color then. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, that's
That's okay. No, my mom had my mom had olive green carpet, and the walls in our dining room were painted orange, and I'll never forget that. So,
yeah,
yeah,
I think we need more of that. I'm really, not to bring it down, but I'm really done with all this gray everywhere. It's like, why?
no
Why?
more
Why?
gray and
People
beige.
don't know color. They don't know how to use it. They don't know how to apply it. It's like gray is the cop out. But I don't mean to go. I'm an optimistic person, so let's not take it down to gray. Let's take
Okay.
it up to color.
Okay, let's do that. So you had the cars, but when did you realize that your obsession actually extended beyond just automobiles? When did architecture, neon signs, and all of it start clicking?
Well, that's a good question. I'll tell you when it really kicked in is when I started thrift shopping when I was 14. I'll never
Oh,
forget it. My mother walked into the living room and she said, it was a Saturday afternoon. I was sprawled out in front of the television. And she's like, you're not good at sports. So I've signed you up to try out for a local production of Oklahoma at the community theater. And I thought, I have no idea what that is, but okay. I could sing because I sang in school and stuff. So okay, we went down there and I sang a song, and they said you've got a part in the chorus. And so they said, but there's only one thing: you have to go across the street to the thrift store and get a cowboy shirt. So I thought, okay, fine.
oh,
I've never been in a thrift store before. I mean, I'm a child of shopping malls. I went into the thrift store. I threw open the double doors of the former Buick showroom, and I took 2 steps in, took 1 step back, looked around, and I said, this place has my name on it. I was immediately struck and inspired and interested in everything in the thrift store. So that is when my thrift store shopping habit started. That's really what began my journey on and beyond the cars into clothes and furniture, and then later even architecture. Just the built environment, just the world of it all. So I've spent my entire, since 14 years old, really, and even earlier with the cars, studying that kind of, basically it's the 50s and 60s into the 70s and some 40s, post war, so once we got to the 80s, it kind of starts to wane a little bit. But the
went way down.
70s, the 60s, the 50s, the post-war era of the 40s, I mean, it's just what I love about it more than anything. I mean, we just talked about color, color, color. Everything's colorful, is the optimism. It was the era of optimism. It was the era of empowerment, especially to, well, let's just face it, the middle class. I mean, what was afforded the middle class then is just so incredible. The cars that look like rocket ships and that were, really just they different styles every year. So, the furniture, the just everywhere you went, there was a lot of whimsy in the world. I mean, in the United States, I'll just speak for the United States. That's my expertise. But just so much whimsy, and that's what I glom onto, and that's what I try to share and celebrate.
And even in the kitchen appliances, right? We had Harvest Gold, right?
Oh,
And
I mean, you're just scratching the surface. I mean, yeah, first there were the pinks and the yellows, the pastels of the 50s. And then in the 60s, they kind of did the fall colors.
right,
We didn't call it pumpkin spice then, but let's call it that now. The pumpkin spices, the harvest golds, the avocado greens, or the olive green. Yeah, classic. I mean, and the thing is if someone like really goes over the edge now and does one of those color schemes in a remodel of a kitchen or whatever, whether it's new stuff or old stuff, people walk in the door and it's stunning. I mean, because 99% of the people out there just have like a gray kitchen.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So you've said that that thrift stores were the school of style and museums of merchandise. Those, I think, are your words. So,
Yes.
so you loved going there and just digging through them.
Oh, 100%. I mean, absolutely in education. I mean, when I used to thrift shop, I mean, I basically stopped thrift shopping at about 30. So, well, maybe a little after that. But, when I found the slides when I was 30 years old, after having thrift shopped since I was 14, I studied everything. When I would go thrift shopping, I would virtually look at everything. I mean, the one thing I remember, I didn't look at like kids' clothes, and I don't know, there was maybe a couple other things that I didn't really look at, but I looked
Sure.
at the men's clothes, the women's clothes, all the furniture, all the gadgets, all the bric-a-brac. I looked at it all and I bought a bunch of stuff. I mean, I cycled through so much. And I remember when I first moved out to LA from where I grew up in Ontario, California, I was 19 years old. And this was 1982. And, I'm like, okay, great. This is my opportunity finally to buy some of this furniture I've been eyeballing all these years. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
did the living room in a beautiful blend of Western Ranch and Chinese modern. And people like would come over and they were like, they didn't even know what to think. I mean, because it was a little over the top, but I loved it. I thought it was creative. I thought it was interesting and resourceful and colorful and
Sure.
unique. I mean,
Absolutely.
my style is what I call eclectic. So if
Yes.
I gave you a home tour right now, I would be able to show you, I mean, virtually everything in my house has a story. It came from somewhere, not like, a store or, I mean, well, a retail place. I mean, it came from like a vintage or a estate sale or whatever. So I started, when I was about 30, I discovered estate sales. And that's really after I had just discovered the slides. And that was really the place where I found the bulk of my archive. So now, after 33 years of collecting other people's old slides and 22 years of my librarian, I call her my assistant,
Yes.
we have developed this amazing archive. And I'm very proud of it. I mean, it's a world-class archive of Kodachrome slides. Everything is in their categories that we have, kind of figured out as needed by me to create all these different shows that I do with, using many, many different topics that I'm able to cull out of the slideshow, out of the slide archive. And you can see my slideshows there. Most of them, or many of them, are on YouTube, because during the pandemic, we couldn't go out or whatever. So I started doing online slideshows. Well, they're all archived there. I mean, these are titles like Southern California in the 50s, Long Beach. Your producer, Patrick, lives in Long
Yes.
Beach. Long Beach land, Florida land, New York City land, San Francisco land, Colorado land. I mean, it goes on and on and on. There's some other kind of obscure topics like supermarket superstars and mad for mid-century. And there's Aloha land is Hawaii. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of shows. You can just go on right now. You can go on my website and click on them, charlesphoenix.com, or you can just go search me on YouTube and they will show up. And they're kind of marathon shows because they were from the pandemic when no one was going anywhere. But anyway, it gives you an idea of my archive and how I, curate the images that I find specific to a topic and talk about them. And, I could talk about this stuff all day long. I mean, because it's also interesting and there's so many points to cover.
Well, it is. And as we talked off show, my mom is going to be 106, actually, October 18th. And we still have, so we had the early slides, we've got boxes of little slides. And then we had one of those little viewers, right?
Yeah.
Put the slide in view. So we know we need to get those. We'll have to talk again on how to get those out of slide format into picture slide format. But let's talk about, okay, so you're thrift shopping, 1992. You're thrift shopping. Tell me about the box. The one
Well,
box.
here's what was happening. I mean, seriously, this is the craziest story. So, literally, I was thrift shopping, and I thought I was walking through the thrift store, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this voice inside spoke to me. This is exactly how it all went down.
Okay, we want to hear it. We want to hear
Moment,
the story.
this life-altering moment that happened to me in a thrift store. I was okay, just as usual. I was thrift shopping, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I got stopped like in the middle of an aisle, and like a ton of bricks hitting me, the voice inside said, "Stop, stop thrift shopping. You've had enough. You've seen enough. You've been here, done that. Time to move on." And I just stood there stunned, and I'm like, what do I do? And then I answered myself. I said, "Okay, you're right." Voice inside, I'll stop. I have had enough. I've bought, I've collected, what I didn't want, I donated back, whatever. I'm done. But I said, just voice inside, give me 5 more minutes and I won't be thrift shopping anymore. Well, literally in that
Really?
5 minutes, I found that little blue shoebox marked trip across the United States, 1957. And that is what pushed me over the edge and changed my life. I opened the box up and it was like I heard the angels singing like a choir. And I held a slide up and I looked at it and it was beautiful. We didn't have slides in my family, so I was familiar with them. But, I held one up and it was like some roadside attraction and the cars and the people. And I held a couple more up and I put the lid back on it. And I said, this is a treasure with my name on it. I made a beeline for that cash register before someone could say, hey, those are mine or those aren't for sale today or whatever. And I got them home. I looked at them like driving in the car on the way home. Before we were on the cell phone while we were driving, I was on looking at slides on the way home. So I started collecting right away. And about, I'd say 5 years later, I decided to have a slideshow in my living room for some friends. I thought, well, I want to share these because I'm sitting here looking at them. And so I picked out some of my favorites and I thought, I don't know if my friends are going to like these or if they think I'm crazy or what. Now, this is the era before found photography had become a thing. So I lined a few people up on my, 3-passenger sofa over here, 2-passenger sofa over there, and 2 side chairs. And I started showing slides and they were like, these are amazing. And that night, a friend said, at the California Map and Travel Center in West Los Angeles, they do a slideshow every Monday night. And you should go do a slideshow there. So I thought, okay. So I went over there and I talked to the lady owner. And she's like, well, nobody would ever want to see other people's old vacation slides. No way. And I'm like, she says, we present, the slides of people who've just gone to the Galapagos Islands or Easter Island or, Burma or whatever. But old vacation slides, no. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring some. I'll be back in a week. So I brought a sleeve full of them with a loop so she could see them. I said, this is what I'm talking about. And she's like, oh, well, yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah, no, these are, yeah. Oh, so, okay.
Yes.
So I booked a show and I actually created a show with a beginning, a middle, and an end. It was a trip across the United States. And what happened was that night, someone from the LA Times happened to be there from the Home magazine. Remember?
Sure.
The Los Angeles Times magazine, the Sunday edition. I guess they don't have it anymore. But she wrote a big story about this. And she said, in order for me to publish this story, though, you have to have another date for a show. So I then booked it at there was a travel store in Distant Lands in Pasadena. So I went over there and they said, yeah, we'll do that. And so 300 people showed up and I was off to the races. So I was doing shows in coffee houses and, anywhere that would have me. And about 6 months later, I was on the 3rd Street Promenade doing a show in a coffee house. And this guy came up to me after the show and he said, people would pay for this. And I'm like, okay. But, here's the funny thing, what I didn't realize, and it happened in the very first slideshow. I didn't realize, I was serious about it, but about the 3rd slide in on the very first show, I said something, the whole audience just burst into laughter. And at that moment, another light bulb went off and I'm like, okay, that's how you want to enjoy this. So we want to not laugh at, we're never laughing at, only with. And the joy of celebrating these beautiful images and kind of the celebration of our collective experience and our collective, Americana that we all share became a very thrilling experience for me and the audiences. And I've been doing these retro slideshows ever since. The first one was 1998.
I have to ask a quick question. Did you ever find out who the family was who brought those slides?
Never. No.
Never. Too bad, yeah.
No, but once in a while, it's happened a couple times where people recognize people in the slides, like, that's my parents' best friend, or that was my drama teacher in 8th grade. It's happened. Yes.
Interesting. That's fascinating. So then you started going to other places and did they pay you for it?
Yeah. I started charging $10 and no one ever said I'm not going to. Well, I guess people did say I'm not going to pay. They didn't show up. But I thought, I need money like everybody else. So,
sure.
it turned into an enterprise. It turned into a business.
So you started collecting more slides.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you find them? What were you looking for? Where did you go?
Anything American, anything mid-century. So Kodachrome slide photography started, basically in the late 30s, but it didn't really get into the hands of the amateurs until post-war. So late 40s. So, it documents color so well. So, it was a very colorful era. So the heyday of it was the 50s and 60s and 70s. And that's the era that I collect because that's what's out there. And so every collection that I get, I mean, there's been, countless collections over the, past 33 years. Basically, I go through every collection and I edit anything out that I don't think would ever be of interest to me or to anybody else for any reason, like out of focus pictures of dirt,
Yeah.
gone. I never need to see those again. And you need a lot of eye power to look at this stuff because you're looking through a loop like this. And
Yes.
anyway, so yeah, so I just I kept collecting basically for about the first 10 years of collecting. I would go to estate sales and I could spot them a mile away without even with blinders on. I already know every estate sale, the slides back in the day. I don't know about now because I don't do estate sales anymore, but they were always in a box under a table. That's how they put them out because they weren't a thing or whatever. And, most of the time the boxes were $5 for all the slides. And, I have found some amazing slides over the years, images. And, those are the ones that wind up in my shows and also in my books. I was able to do several books over the last, I mean, this is a long time of collecting. So, I've done a lot already with these slides. And, it's basically, I look in the mirror and I say to myself, you're a very resourceful person. You kind of took a pile of whatever and turned it into, these shows and these books and everything. So I'm really proud of what I've done. And I, done something quite different than, it's a creative endeavor that, most people haven't done.
You absolutely should be, and you're one of those people who saw an opportunity and grabbed onto it. Your imagination took you to another place that no one had been to before, and you did something with it. And you're right, it's really a very short window because they started using photography and slides and now they don't. Right?
Right.
So it's a very short window really in the scope of life.
Yes.
And so that's also what makes it very unique.
Yeah, totally. I mean, slides, yeah, ended. I mean, they stopped developing Kodachrome, I think in 2000, well, 11, I think. So there is no more Kodachrome. It doesn't exist anymore. You cannot, it just, you can't process it. And I
No.
hate to say it, but I mean, and though I'm not a super like chemical kind of person, but I'm pretty sure I could be wrong, but I'm 95% sure, I hope I'm wrong, that processing Kodachrome film caused nuclear waste.
Oh, do you think so?
I hope I'm wrong, but I mean, it's kind of crazy. I should know. I should know. But, I'm not really a mechanical person. I'm not an engineer. I'm not technical, really. I mean, I can do the stuff that I need to do, but I'm more of a visual person. I learned
Of
from
course. Of
Disneyland.
course.
I
Obviously.
literally learned from Disneyland. That was where my brain got hardwired. And there was one particular, I mean, well, I'll just back up a second.
All right.
The themes, everything, every place you go practically has a theme. Everything has a theme. So, kind of. And so, by the time I'm 5 years old, I'm like, oh, I totally get it. This is like Main Street USA theme, like vintage, turn of the century Americana. And I would see these themes other places we went, like restaurants or, other theme parks or whatever. I'm like, oh, Knott's Berry Farm, that's like Frontierland. I get it. It's all kind of Western. Uh-huh. Or, Adventureland is kind of tiki, exotica.
Right.
And then,
Yes.
Fantasyland's kind of old world, whimsy. Tomorrowland is futuristic. So everywhere we would go, I would like, what style guide is this? I mean, even though I wasn't really using that word, but that's where my brain really got hardwired to be so visual and to really be able to recognize styles and designs and kind of categorize it. And then as I went forward, it just all kind of fell into place. But the one attraction at Disneyland that really knocked me out, that really finally gave me the spine to really hold it all together, the knowledge in my head, was
Yes.
this attraction called the Carousel of Progress, which is where it's long gone now. It's been gone for 50 years, but where you went through time, you went through a household progress starting about late 1800s, and then they were in the 20s, then they were in the like 40s, and then they were like in the sometime beyond the year of 1973 or whatever. And it just knocked me out to see progress. I love time. I love time capsules. I love time warps. But my mind files everything by theme and mostly more than anything by numbers, which is time. So the years of everything. I'm really good in that mid-century era of saying, oh, that piece of furniture is probably from about 1955, 1960. I mean, I can really nail it down. Usually within a couple of years, even like hairdos and stuff, because of seeing all these slides and seeing the dates on them. I mean, that's why when I watch like the road show or whatever it's called, Antique Roadshow, and
Yep.
someone's like, well, this is from the Byzantine era of whatever, 1742 to 1765. And I'm like, yeah, they know that because they've studied that. And it's like, I feel the same way about what I've studied. I can tell you, because it's just things move so quickly. Things change so quickly, materials and styles and fads. So I love it. Love it.
Do you think any of that in your early years, really early years, came from seeing new model cars come on?
Well, I mean, that was part of it. I mean, kind of noticing how they changed, virtually every year back, in the 50s and 60s and 70s. So,
Uh-huh.
I mean, the progress of time. I remember my brother was in school, so it would be me with my mother and my grandmother, and they'd take me shopping, and I really paid attention at the mall. Oh, because everywhere we went, like my grandmother would say, "Oh, the hemlines are up an inch this year." I mean, that's how it used to be. I mean, you remember
Yes.
probably.
Yes. Yes.
And I would go like, oh, that's interesting, or whatever. Or I would notice the trends as the time went by, going to the mall or to the shopping malls. Um, you know, or they would say, oh, the toes are all square on the shoes this year. I mean, I can remember that was a really big deal. It was like so crazy to me, but it just made sense for me to be able to understand and follow that kind of stylistic, the trends and the fads. It's just so interesting to me to see the evolution of it all.
And so it's very clear that you're celebrating the era. You're not mocking it. So
Oh
you're
no, no, I'm not
celebrating
mocking it.
every
I mean,
era.
I hope I'm not mocking it. No, I'm not mocking it at all. No, I respect it. I'm putting pride out there. Pride of Americana, pride of all the beauty and glory and the stories of all of this stuff and our lives. I mean, it's us. It's like a celebration of our own selves when we look at all these places, all these spaces, all this stuff, these things. I mean, we had it, we made it. We our relatives and our friends and neighbors and fellow Americans and whatever made this stuff. I mean, this is our culture. Let's we own it. This is part of our history. And there's this weird kind of like strain in our culture of well, planned obsolescence for sure, and that anything kind of out of date is low class or tacky. Well, some people feel that way, but I don't. And people who collect vintage or antiques or whatever, we don't really use the word antiques that much anymore, but old stuff or whatever, collectors, are, often apologize. I meet a lot of collectors and they're like, oh, I know, I've collected so much. No, celebrate yourself, pat yourself on the back. I mean, celebrate what we've done, what we've created. I mean, the good, not the bad, but the good. And one thing I learned a long time ago, I was at a guy's house in Venice Beach, and he had this amazing warehouse, just beautifully curated and displayed collection of all kinds of things. And as I left, he said, the art of being a good collector is being a great editor. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'm like, you're right. I mean, so I've always kind of been one to, I'm not a hoarder and I'm not mad at hoarders. I mean, as long as they're not damaging the stuff. But, I've always been one to try to trade up.
Well, I think it's also celebrating the minds of the creators. I always find it fascinating, Charles. I always wonder what is that person like who somewhere in their mind it sparked the design of a car, right? Or the use of certain colors. And so I like the idea of you having maybe a more neutral background and still popping your colors. I mean, that's also really great. And I think that when you talk about all the things that are created, also I think it's amazing to think of the people who actually did it, right? I mean, like, how many people have been through a thrift store and seen slides and nobody saw it the way that you did?
Well, I mean, now people have, but
No, because they saw you.
found photography kind of became a thing. But I mean, basically, it's all really. I mean, at the end of the day, the whole modus operandi here is consumerism. Productivity and consumerism. But the pop culture explosion of style and design and color and and optimism that happened after World War II in this country is second in scale only to the Big Bang. I mean, it was just massive. I mean, we're still on it. We're still, kind of happy. It's still happening. But I mean, at the beginning in the 50s and stuff, I mean, you could get cars and 142 different color combinations. And, they came in, all these color interior, red, green, blue, turquoise interiors, all these it was just wild with variety and all of that. So, that's a really big deal to me.
Yeah.
And, I want to celebrate that. I mean, and so much more. I mean, you mentioned like, appliances and stuff. I mean, the same thing. I mean, like what color do you want? I mean, how do you choose? There's like, 6 or 8 colors to choose from. Now, it's kind of gray. So I'm not saying it was a better time. That's not my message. I mean, I don't think I'd want to go back in time, because if I did, I'd be shocked at how, I mean, the bad stuff that we kind of like know of. But, it's interesting to study the good stuff, the stuff, the stuff is fun. Just the design and the style. I mean, that's what I really consider myself, as a style and design expert, mid-century, more than anything.
Absolutely. So you've written books specifically about the Pomona Valley.
Well, my first book, I grew up in the Pomona Valley and I moved to LA, Silver Lake, when I was 19. And I just moved away from there just a couple of months ago for the first time. So I lived there a long time. But, it was like in the late 90s, I was kind of fed up with people going like, you're from Ontario. Ooh, and I thought, wait a minute now. I left for a reason. I wanted to be in the city to kind of, enjoy what all the city has to offer. And I did. And I still do. But I thought, wait a minute now, there's some amazing places in Ontario. Like, there's some amazing buildings and some amazing, cultural treasures. And Upland has some, and Claremont has a bunch. And there's the LA County Fairgrounds, and Pomona has some amazing, mid-century and 30s architecture. All this stuff had never been covered in a book at all.
No, no.
So I wrote a book called Cruising the Pomona Valley, 1930 through 1970, Art, Culture, and Architecture in the did I call it? Cruising the Pomona Valley. Yeah. I said, art, architecture, and culture, or something like that, in the Horn of Plenty. I called this area the Horn of Plenty. Little did I know that I would come back here. So, but here I am. It's like weird how life works.
But you're right. I mean, we talked before about me working in Upland. You go up and down Euclid, and the gorgeous old houses and the old buildings and all the history from that whole area. Pretty amazing that people don't think about.
They don't.
It's pretty incredible. So if someone's listening now and thinking, well, I want to see California, Southern California, through Charles Phoenix's eyes, where would they start?
Well, boy, that is about the biggest question I've ever been asked, I swear, because, it takes a lifetime to see it all. So, it kind of depends. I mean, that's a big, giant question. I mean, literally, it's like my first question is, well, is there something you've always wanted to visit, or a place you've always wanted to see that you haven't? Let's start with there, because anytime anybody says, I'm coming to California, where should I go? I always say, well, first of all, that question, well, there must be something you've already heard of you want to see. How long are you going to be here? How much driving do you want to do? And it's all about planning logistically. Like if you're going downtown LA, I mean, there's enough, you could spend months downtown LA, in that vicinity, or you could spend a day. So, I mean, how much time do you have? But, I mean, I like all the classic attractions. I mean, let's just start with one of the oldest tourist attraction in all of Los Angeles, the La Brea Tar Pits. That literally is the oldest tourist attraction, if not the San Gabriel Mission, but the La Brea Tar Pits, where you go and there's oil bubbling up in the ground. Alvera Street. I love Alvera Street. I love Old Chinatown. I love Little Tokyo. Of course, Knott's Berry Farm is iconic. I mean, are you going to Disneyland? Are you Disneyland people? I can recommend several diners. We used to call them coffee shops. Now we call them diners. Norm's on La Cienega is an iconic Googie style diner. Googie style represents or means, mid-century modern gone wild. So we have Pan's coffee shop near LAX. If you're going to be
Yes,
over,
I saw a video of you there. Yes.
yeah, if you're going to go to Pan's at LAX, you got to go to see the giant donut, Randy's Donuts, which is one of the
Yes,
great.
Randy. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's the giant donut on top of the little donut stand, built in 1951. There were 9 of them originally. 4 of them still exist, but only one is called Randy's. Originally, they were called the Big Donut Drive-In, but you got to see that. I mean, to me, the Big Donut Drive-In, aka now Randy's, for decades, it's been over 50 years. Um, it's the most important commercial building of the 20th century, hands down. There's no more important building in the United States than Randy's Donuts. And we could get into that, but we shouldn't right now because we're talking about other places to go. I mean, yeah, it's just there's too many things. So it's like, what area are you going to be in? You know, that's how I answer. You know, I mean, there's other restaurants, the Magic Lamp Inn on Route 66. Have you been to Chris and Pitt's Barbecue in Bellflower? I mean, I'm talking about highly
Not in Bellflower. There
ambiance.
was one, I think, in Anaheim. I went to that.
Yeah, there was one in Anaheim, but not as ambiancical. That's a word I made up, ambiancical, as the one in Bellflower.
You can
That
make that
one's
up.
got
That's right.
boat painted like a log cabin on the outside, and it is absolutely stunning. So, I mean, you know, oh, you like gardens? Okay, fine. Then you got to go to the Huntington Library and Gardens. Or here in
Absolutely.
Claremont, we have the Botanical Garden. I mean, in Long Beach, you've got Rancho Los Amigos and Rancho wait, what's the other one called? Bixby Ranch? I mean, there's just so much. You want a boat ride? Fine. Go to Catalina. Catalina, Avalon, unbelievable time capsule. I
So much.
love
Yes.
Catalina. You got to go there and spend the night and do all the tours, the glass bottom boat. I mean, talk about a time capsule. I love heritage experiences. I like places that have a story. I like to walk in the door and go, what decade are we in? You know,
Yeah.
I'm not that interested in going in new places at all. I mean, I go sometimes because I'm with people or whatever, and that's where they're going or whatever, but not me on my own. I want layers of time. That's what I like. I like to look through the layers of time. That's what I want. I want a story. I want a glory. Have you been to the Northwoods Inn in Rosemead with the fake snow on the roof, the giant log cabin restaurant? There's also
Yes.
one
Yes.
in
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Covina. So,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
there's stuff everywhere, all over the place. I mean, yeah, they're kind of falling like flies. But I mean, I don't mean that in a negative way, but I mean, you know,
No.
as time
No.
goes
No.
by, have you been to Vince's Spaghetti in my hometown of Ontario? They've been serving spaghetti since 1945, the world's largest spaghetti house. Have you been to, Logan's Candies in my hometown of Ontario, California, where they've been making candy since 1933? World class. You know, I like heritage. I like history. I like time honored. That's me. So, you know, these are the places that I'm going to go. And if you're hanging out with me, that's where we're going.
And
So,
that sounds exciting. So let's talk. I want our viewers and our listeners to hear about your and comparison is not the right word, but I
yes.
don't have it on my tongue. How you've taken downtown Los Angeles and turned it into the viewer's eyes of its own Disneyland. So
Well, I
talk
did a
how you've done
tour of downtown LA starting, it was about 2004 to 2014, I think. Or maybe, well, anyway, those are about the dates. Anyway, about, you know, 6 times a year, I would get a big bus full of people, and, you know, I would compare and show them downtown LA as though it were a theme park. Union Station, train station, they have a train station to Disneyland. We'd ride the Gold Line to Chinatown, and the way that Gold Line is up on the beam and the way it banks and everything, it banks exactly the same way the monorail banks at Disneyland. So we were on the monorail. Chinatown was like, you know, kind of Adventurelandish, if you will. Old Chinatown. We'd have an egg roll there in the Pagoda restaurant, and, you know, see several things. Go into one of the old gift shops. Go into the first Chinese lawyer's office. We would go to Alvera Street and have taquitos, and see the oldest house in Los Angeles, and have a whole, you know, unfolding of Alvera Street. We went go to Clifton's Cafeteria when it was still serving. That was kind of Frontierland. We would go to the Bob Baker Marionette Theater. That was, you know, like Fantasyland, and see a little puppet show. I would feed everybody that strawberry whipped cream cake from the Phoenix Bakery. I mean, that's not a theme, but I just, you know, people love that cake. I love that cake. Yeah, if you want a great cake, Phoenix Bakery, downtown Los Angeles, no relation. They've been around since 1938.
But you also did tours of Palm Springs. Is that
I
correct? For
do. I
business
still do
run?
the tours of Palm Springs during modernismweek.com. Yeah, that's happening. We do a double decker bus tour. It's about 2.5 hours. And we go east, west, north, and south in Palm Springs. And, I kind of show you the there of, a lot of stuff, not everything. You can't see it all. But yeah, that's a good introduction to Palm Springs. I also do a big retro slideshow every year at Modernism Week. There are 2 Modernism Weeks in Palm Springs. One is in October, the other one is in February. And yeah, that happens. That's fun. We have a good
So
time.
you have one coming up.
I do. They're all sold out. But I also have some other shows coming up, and I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget. Should
Right?
I
Tell us
tell?
about them.
What? Okay, October the 12th. That is, wait, October. Oh, the home tour in Claremont. My home is on tour. That's why
Oh
I'm
my
doing
goodness.
everything I can to pull it together. So it
Oh,
looks
nice.
really put together. So yeah, that's ClaremontHeritage.org, I think. Claremont Heritage. This is their 40th annual home tour. And when I moved in, they came over and 5 minutes later and they said, your home's on the home tour this year. I'm like, I can't. I just moved in. They're
Oh,
like, no, 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 no. It's on. It's on. It's on. I'm like, but
it'll
I
be fine. It'll be fine, right?
so I said, well, maybe it's a good, a way for me to really have a goal because goals are everything to me, the way my brain
Sure.
works. I need
Yeah.
deadlines. And then October 25th, I have Halloween Land. That's part of the Anaheim Fall Festival, which features my show, Halloween Land, and the annual Halloween parade that's been going on about 100 years. 100 years in Anaheim. So yeah, to get tickets for any of these things, you can go to my website, charlesphoenix.com, except for the home tour. That you have to go to, I believe it's Claremont Heritage, but Halloween Land, October 25th in Anaheim. That you go to my website, charlesphoenix.com. November 1st, I'll be in Torrance for an evening with Charles Phoenix. That's going to be fun. The Torrance Civic Theater, the James Armstrong Theater. So I'll be celebrating, all the stuff that I celebrate. And, I celebrate it with the audience. It's not just me up there like going on. It's a back and forth. I mean, the audience feels me and I feel the audience, that's kind of how it goes. So, kind of escape into a wondrous world of, where everything's fine. That's kind of the place I take it. These are slideshows. I stand on stage with a microphone and a spotlight and a big screen next to me, and I click through and I commentate, and it's like stories. It's storytelling, really. It's
Sure. Yes, it
storytelling.
is.
And I'm telling you what's wonderful and why we should be interested in what we're looking at. So, and the audience, they can tell because, that's why I have this catchphrase that I use. I know, I know, I know. I say I know a lot in my shows. And it's basically
I've seen
short
that.
for
Yeah.
I know because you do know. It's like I'm not the only one that can see this. I'm the one presenting it because I mean, just the way you're sitting there, I can see all their faces, in the reflected light of the screen. They're all like, it's like they're happy to see all this stuff. I mean, it's fun. This is a feel good.
And they're nudging each other and going, look at that. Look at that, right? Remember that? Remember? Oh, ha,
I
ha. We
do
had
hear
one of those
people.
cars,
I do
right?
hear people like, we went there. And I feel like saying, okay, shh, please, not so loud. But I never say that, of
Yeah,
course.
we
But
had one
sometimes
of those cars. Oh, my mom had one of those, right? My
yes.
mom had a dress like that, right?
Yes, yeah, all of that. And, even for the generations that didn't even live through this, I mean,
No,
if they're visually minded, they enjoy it. If they're
sure.
style minded, I
Of
mean,
course.
kids, people bring their, kids who have an attention span. I mean, often kids, parents will know or to not bring a kid or to bring their kid. And kids like it. The grandparents like it. I mean, my shows move quickly. The subjects change quickly from one image to the next. We don't linger too long, so it moves right along. And it's like
Sure.
whoa, 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 and like I really tailor the shows so one image kind of informs the next, the next, the next. And I really enjoy putting these shows together. They all have a beginning and a middle and an end, and I don't know, it just kind of happens.
And you're so entertaining and so interesting to listen to. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm being honest and being, I don't have a script. I just, speak from my heart, really, and my brain and my gut. Those
And
three
your
things.
love for all of the things that you're
Yeah.
talking about, right?
Yeah,
Your
exactly.
love for this thing that you brought to life.
I mean,
We have
it's a privilege for me to get up there and share this stuff and to have a whole theater full of people show up and give time out of their busy lives to kind of just share this. So it's a shared experience.
We have to be sure we include in our show today your Chirpumple time. Talk to us about this
The
cake,
Chirpumple,
this
that's
dessert
a
that
pie
you
stuffed cake
created.
that I invented. The
Yeah, talk to us
Chirpumple.
about it.
Cherry, pumpkin, and apple. Yeah, I mean, basically, I did invent this dessert. I have a whole arm of my kind of octopus of things that I do, which is I really haven't done it lately, but the test kitchen. And all of these recipes, well, they're kind of basically edible centerpieces. And they're all in my book, Holiday Jubilee, which was published 6 years ago. You can get it online, Holiday Jubilee. If you're getting that one, you might as well also get Americana the Beautiful. That's another story altogether. But
Yes, yes,
those
and
are
that's
my
a
two
beautiful
latest
book.
books.
Yes,
But anyway, you can get them on Amazon.
yes.
But what I was going to say was, the Chirpumple. So yeah, 3 pies, cherry, pumpkin, and apple, each one stuffed in a different layer of cake. Apple and spice, pumpkin and yellow, and cherry and white. And then you stack and frost with cream cheese frosting. It is out of this world. It is so good. It's big, it's heavy, it's bold, but it is delicious. And I kind of figured it out. I figured out to do that because, our family on Thanksgiving, we would always have, I mean, weirdly, we would have those 3 pies always. And then we would also have this cake that my mother made, which was 1 layer of spice and 1 layer of yellow. And it was just the family tradition. And so
Sure.
I'm like, wait a minute now. We have all these, everyone wants a sliver of everything and they keep grazing. And there was a pile of paper plates taller than me. And I'm like, you guys, I said, we need to have a family meeting. This is after Thanksgiving one year. I said, look, we are not a green family. We need to be a green family. Too many paper plates. This is totally wasteful because every time any one of you come back to get another sliver of this dessert or that pie or that cake or whatever, we're using another plate. So I said, that's it, no more. I'm putting them all the desserts together next year. So I put the cherry pie, the pumpkin pie, the apple pie, and the cake together. I just needed 1 more layer of cake, the white layer for the cherry pie, and boom, the Chirpumple cherry, pumpkin, and apple pie stuffed cake was born. So it kind of became a cult thing. It's been about 15 years ago now, but yeah, the Chirpumple.
And do
That's
people send you pictures of theirs? Do they make them and send you pictures?
totally,
They
yeah. I mean,
do.
there were like Chirpumple drops contests and all of
Really?
that. So thing is though, if you make a Chirpumple, there's 2 things you have to bake. Basically, they're Sara Lee pies, and it's funny because not to talk whatever about Sara Lee, but over the years from the beginning to like it's been a couple of years since I've made one, but I saw the pie filling, the amount of pie filling, and the Sara Lee pies go from like this to this. I know, but anyway, the pies you have to bake them first, and then you put the batter down, and then you detin the pie, and you put it in there and put more batter on top. That's how you bake them. But the pies never know they've been baked twice. They just don't know it, and you won't
And
know.
then do you ever, then is there and I know I could go in the cookbook and we've only got a second left, but then you put it like an icing on it, or what do you
Oh
do?
yeah, no cream cheese frosting. That's it. That's the crowning touch. But the weird thing is like the thing is, it might fall, fail, or hemorrhage, and if it does, that's great. I mean, perfect cakes are so overrated. Perfection is so overrated. I almost said underrated. No, it's overrated. Like because like the cherry might start dripping out of the side or whatever. The whole thing might go like that or whatever. It's okay. It's okay. It's not
Sure.
about perfection. It's about presentation. It's about heart and soul. It's about gathering everyone around to have the first big cut. People love that. So it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it sounds amazing. In fact, we need to make one. And my mom makes, as I mentioned to you, my mom's a little older. And so I'm sure that she'll love making one for Thanksgiving. We'll probably make one for Halloween too. Maybe one for her birthday. I don't know. So I'm going to ask you some questions as we wrap this up. You've been on Conan, Martha Stewart, Jay Leno's Garage. It's one of my favorites. Storage Wars and a cake store, a
Cake
cake show
Wars.
also. Yep. So what was your favorite?
Well, I would have to say, I mean, the one that I mean, all of them. I mean, well, Martha Stewart, Jay Leno, and Conan, I mean, they're all legends. I will tell you, Martha, up close, you're this close, she's gorgeous. Jay Leno couldn't have been nicer. I spent 4 hours with him driving around. And then the other one, Conan, very different offstage than on, very poised and intelligent acting offstage, on stage, the crazy Conan. So 2 kind of personalities there, but all
Really?
were
That's
wonderful.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. Any moments from any of those shows, any disasters or amazing
Well,
surprises?
Martha, I was showing vintage Halloween slides, and I showed a picture of a Bridezilla, and I don't know what happened. I said, Martha, you could be Bridezilla. And she said,
Oh,
I would never be Bridezilla. She like snapped at me, and I'm like, oh. And then there was
oh,
another one of someone painted a pumpkin pink. I said, oh, you could paint a pumpkin pink. She said, I would never paint a pumpkin pink. I mean, she like snapped at me a couple of times, but it was all in good fun.
Yes, and I heard you talk about a little behind the scenes of being a judge on the Cake Wars, about how you chose which cake you were going to do is based on how good it looked on TV.
Well, yeah. I mean, we were choosing one winner, and then the producer said, "Look at how it looks on camera versus in person." And the one that chose doesn't look as good on camera as the other one. And they were right. So, weirdly though, on the show that I was on, Cake Wars, I mean, there was virtually no cheating. The only cheating was when they said you've got 3 hours. That meant 3.5 hours. You have an hour. That meant you had an hour and a half. I mean, that was it. There was really no cheating. I mean, it was real and done in real time too. So
Yeah.
it was I mean, interesting to see behind the scenes of those shows. It was like 75 people on the staff, or even 80. It's a lot.
I have to ask, of all the things that you've done, which is amazing and fabulous, and you've been able to use your mind and create things that came from your mind and your heart and your soul, which I think is one of the greatest experiences of life, when you can do that rather than just be in a box and have to go to a job every day. You've been able to build this amazing life. What what's next? What would you still like to do?
Well, that's a very good question. More of the same, more of the same. I mean, just keep evolving it. I want to do another couple of books. Books are the hardest thing to do by far. I mean, on every level. But more shows, take it around the country even more than I already have. I mean, I played all over the country, east, west, north, and south, but, go travel even more to do my live shows, celebrate this country. Just celebrate. I mean, uh, be a voice of an uplifting voice. And if that's celebrating, classic and kitschy American life and style, that's what it is. That's what I do. That's what I'm proud to do. That's what I was born to do. So that's why I'm doing it.
And what a great thing, what a great experiences in life and fun that you bring, and the joy that you bring to all of us. um, Charles, thank you for being with us today. What
My
a
pleasure.
delightful experience. I was so excited. I could hardly believe that you had agreed to be on our show. And I know that some of your friends have been our guests as well, and all the experiences. I certainly will be there in November, and I'll come to Anaheim and watch you. That's close by us. The king of retro, ambassador of Americana. Oh, before we leave, I'm going to interrupt myself. One thing is, I saw you do cameos. Talk to us
Yes.
about how someone can contact you and you'll send a birthday or greeting wish to their loved one. I need to
Yeah.
do that for my mom. So
Via
tell it real
Cameo.
quick. So they just go on your website and order that?
Click on Cameo on my website. charlesphoenix.com is my website. And that's, I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all of that. Just search Charles Phoenix and you'll find me. But for Cameo, you have to go to my website and click on Cameo, and it'll take you right there. And you order a greeting, and tell me a little bit of background. No one ever says enough background. I always wish there was more background. They
Really?
fill out, a form. What's this about? What's the subject? Tell me. I want to know more. Always want to know more. Where you're from? Where are you at, that I can talk about the area, because I've traveled all over. So I always love to refer. Like if they're from Seattle, well, then I'm going to mention something about the Space Needle or whatever, or wherever. So yeah.
So if you'd like Charles to send a birthday greeting or a holiday greeting or anything like that to any of your family members, go on his website and order a cameo. It's very delightful. I saw some of them, and we're certainly going to use that for my mom's upcoming birthday. But at any rate, Charles, thank you, the king of retro, the ambassador of Americana, the chancellor of cheese. Thank you for taking us on this wonderful joyride today. It has been an absolute blast. It's been my pleasure. And we wish you all the best. And we do hope to see you very soon. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very, very
Val.
much.
Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.